Hello, hello, hello. This is the new episode of AJ's podcast. And just as you noticed, I'm in a completely new setup today. I'm currently in Iowa for some family events. So this is my setup for today. It's just some topics we're going to run through today. We'll be talking about the usual college and NFL football matchups we saw this weekend. And then I'll talk about LeBron and the Lakers on LeBron's fourth championship, along with a comparison between him and Michael Jordan on the best player GOAT discussion. So stick around and find out more. Now for your quote of the week. Mediocrity will never do. You are capable of something better. When I think of this quote, what kind of tells me is that just settling is never good enough. I mean, if you have a strength, you should exploit it. You should show that you're nothing less than exceptional. It doesn't mean to be better at everything. It just means you be better at the thing that you think you can be best at. And you shouldn't try to, undermine yourself, essentially. So always try to be the better person you can be. It's a little weird setup here. I'm not used to just, speaking my microphone. Still not outside of my little desk, but it's a nice change of things. I mean, at first it was going to be upstairs in the living room, but I was like, no, this is uncomfortable. I'm slouching and shit, and then here I got more space, better lighting too, so that definitely helps every little bit. So let's talk about the Lakers and LeBron. So this month, LeBron James and the LA Lakers won Game 6 against the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. This is LeBron's fourth ring. As usual, LeBron was nothing short of exceptional when he faced the Miami Heat, and he also had a big help from Anthony Davis. And people still seem to criticize LeBron, saying that he's not that great of a player. He's not one of the greatest players in the NBA. They just like to compare him to Michael Jordan, usually because he has less rings than him and took less tries to get these rings. But honestly, I can't compare the two. They are asked to do two separate things. They also have different positions. LeBron is a small forward / point guard, and Jordan is a pure shooting guard. His job is just to shoot buckets. LeBron, he has to not only shoot, but he has to rebound and generate plays through some assists. It's just he's obviously not focused on just making plays. Making shots. And they're from two different eras. There's different styles, trends. Now it's a three-point league. Before it was just a dunking league. And right now, big men are required to shoot threes, and some can even pass. It's crazy. It's so different than it was, and the rules are different too. Who knows how many personal fouls Jordan will cause to get kicked out of the game if he plays by his rules of the 80s and 90s. There's only one thing they do have in common. They both have the ability to control the outcome of the game. It's just ridiculous. If you have them on your one of them on your team, they can control what's going to happen. They can score when they feel like it, essentially. But that's never enough. I can't say you can't compare the two. People are still going to say Jordan's better or LeBron's better. So I'm going to break it down myself and tell you who I think is better. So right off the bat, I just think LeBron James is a more valuable player and the greatest basketball player of all time. If you're on LeBron's team, statistically, you're more likely to go to the finals than Jordan. Pretty much a 71% chance of going to the finals, looking at LeBron's track record. And LeBron's the only player to win a championship with three different teams. Jordan's only done it with one, and those teams aren't really much after he leaves. Let's look at some examples. So LeBron won his third ring with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the following year he went to LA. Do you know what standings they were after LeBron left? They were second to last in the Eastern Conference. If that's not enough, then let's look at the Miami Heat. When the Miami Heat got away from LeBron, they didn't even make the playoffs. And LeBron won back-to-back finals with them. It just shows that he has so much power. And Jordan left in 95 the first time. He came back in the middle of the season. It was in March of 1995. The Bulls were a 34-29 team when Jordan came back. They had a winning record and would have made the playoffs without him that year. And let's look at who Jordan had as a head coach. He had Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson is probably one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. He has 11 titles as a coach. You want to look at me dead in the eye and tell me that Ty Lue is a better coach than Phil Jackson? You can't. You really cannot say that. And not only did Jordan have to wait for Pippen, he had to wait for players to get old, like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Larry was stopping him to reaching the finals, and he got old because of back issues. And Magic faced Jordan his first year in his final run. He was about to be done with his career. And just looking at efficiency, LeBron is a much more efficient player when it comes to shooting. I mean, you can say, "Oh, Jordan has more shooting records, or he averages more points per game." That's because LeBron takes less shots because he's too busy doing other shit like passing the ball and rebounding it. I mean, Jordan on average shot 23 times per game, LeBron 19.5. And let's look at their best points per game year. In 2006, LeBron was 38-7. Jordan was 37-5 in his best season. Jordan had 6 more attempts per game that season than LeBron, and statistically, LeBron has a higher shooting percentage. So let's kind of do a little math here. If I were to do the average amount of attempts per game, and then put it to LeBron and kind of contribute to his amount of three-pointers, because he obviously shot more than Jordan, using the same percentage on free throws and field goals, and then the 2-point and 3-point distribution to MJ's attempts, LeBron averaged 38.5 points with Jordan's amount of attempts. It's simple enough. He's just more better with the ball when he shoots it. And if you ask LeBron to facilitate less and score more, this whole debate would have been completely different moving forward. And Jordan has played with 2 Hall of Famers for multiple years, and LeBron has to make it work right away when he switches to different teams. LeBron's just more adaptable than Jordan. And do you remember who the people that Jordan beat? I honestly don't recall. I mean, Clyde Drexler, Magic Johnson, but as I mentioned, Magic Johnson was old. And Charles Barkley, who ended up never winning a championship. I mean, LeBron just played one of the greatest teams in basketball. He lost to them, but still, the competition is way harder for LeBron versus Jordan. And LeBron's played 17 straight seasons. Jordan got to rest twice, but he didn't even make the playoffs. He went back. Since we're still on the topic of NBA, I want to talk about something that's been bugging me lately about the NBA. So people have been saying that the NBA Finals ratings have been going down year over year. And some are saying that it's been going down because players and coaches and the NBA is promoting the Black Lives Matter movement in response to police brutality on Black Americans. People are saying that that's what they get for pushing politics into sport. No, that's not the same thing. Like, if a player were to say in a post-game interview, everyone played great ball, control the tempo of the game, but America needs to lower tax tariffs on Mexico. That's pushing politics into sports. This is a social issue that's affecting the well-being of people of color. I just understand, like, if you have a problem with players expressing their voice on an issue to, make America better, you're just an asshole. Simple as that. Some of these players, most of them honestly, grew up in like inner cities and not well-off neighborhoods, and you shouldn't be calling them entitled because they had to work the way to get there. Sure, they're physically gifted, that's where they can do it, but it's not. I've seen plenty of gifted athletes in all sports that are top talent, but they just fail because they don't get the work ethic. And these players should be taking advantage of their platform because they need to speak for the people that don't have the voice that they have. And if you think these players are disrespecting the flags because they're kneeling before the games, I mean, you should be thinking, man, I don't like that. I should help the cause so they don't do that again. That's essentially what you should be getting out of it. I mean, if you're going to call all Black Lives Matter protesters looters or criminals or crooks, and then you can't be saying that there's just a couple bad apples on the police force. I mean, personally, I know people involved in these protests, and I've never seen them steal a single thing or even break a damn thing. So take that into consideration before you start saying that players should just dribble and shut up, because that's just ridiculous. So let's get talking about college football. You know me, I like watching college football. It's just so fun to watch, just to spend your Saturdays just watching football. So let's start with the UNC Florida State game. So Florida State won 28-31, and what I saw out of this was quarterback for UNC, Sam Howell. He's kind of still a work in progress. I mean, he's been playing for UNC for a while, but I don't know. I mean, he had 3 TDs, well, one interception for 374 yards. And he's just, I don't know, I'm not sold on him just yet. I think he's a good quarterback, just a good college quarterback, honestly. And some interesting things I saw in the game was Florida State had no points in the last half because I think they were just kind of getting a little worn out because they had a real good, strong start. And just some, I don't know, some things I want to mention. Javonte Williams had a pretty good game. He had 119 yards on 18 carries, which is pretty impressive. That's, I think, 6 yards per carry. And then he had a TD on the game as well. And how I think of it is, I mean, this doesn't really mean much in their conferences because they're not projected to be the best team in their conferences. Those conferences are just way too stacked, honestly. I mean, one thing that definitely got my attention was UNC was 2 for 12 on third down efficiency. They cannot turn the ball into a first down when it depended on it. The run game was decent. They had 184 yards that game. Penalties actually killed Florida State, but they somehow still were able to win it. They had 12 penalties, which doesn't really fly very well. I mean, so this is not a big game in my opinion, but I just wanted to just kind of give everyone an update. 'Cause I don't want to just talk about the same teams every week. I just is boring, honestly. I want to keep it mixed up and get everybody involved. So another game I watched was the Auburn versus South Carolina game. So the Gamecocks won 22-30, and I'm critical on Bo Nix, the quarterback for Auburn. I have not liked him for a long time. Probably because he made me mad when him and Auburn beat Oregon in that opener last year. So I just had a bad thing for him. And I know I'm horrible, but he did pretty bad this weekend. He had 1 TD to 3 interceptions. Tank Bigsby, one of the running backs, pretty much put the team on his back on a critical fourth quarter drive to put Auburn in a position. But then one they didn't get was the 2-point conversion attempt in the first quarter. Like, why do you need that? Honestly, it's the first quarter, and it's not going to do anything. And I think, in a way, kind of put them in a bad position in the last drive when they were down by 8. I mean, they could have been down by 7 and could have put it into overtime at least. They didn't do the 2-point conversion, but then the Gamecocks were just making Bo Nix look like Lamar Jackson on the field, man. The final drive, dude, Bo Nix had like two 12-yard runs on them. He was just getting really greedy. And he just makes bad decisions, too. I mean, he tried to hurdle over someone instead of trying to go to the sidelines to stop the clock. I mean, you can't do that, man. That's going to put you in a bad position every time. And overall, I mean, he's just not very good at third down conversion, especially in the third quarter. He was kind of stinking it up. And I mean, just kind of looking at the stats from yesterday. I mean, the Gamecocks had a pretty good possession. They took the ball majority of the time. Run game definitely stepped up. Pass game, not much. There's nothing too exciting about Colin Hill. He had a touchdown, but an interception as well. Kevin Harris did pretty good. He had 2 TDs. That dude balled out pretty well. Then the big primetime game of the evening was the Georgia versus Alabama game. I was kind of a little scared for Alabama because they were behind, I think, at halftime, but Alabama won the game 24-41, and Georgia had 21 unanswered points to Alabama's points. I mean, Georgia didn't score a single point in the last half. That's just embarrassing. And they allowed 21. They're supposed to be the top defense in the country right now. But Najee Harris from Alabama, he balled out. I like him as a running back. He's dope as hell. And Mac Jones, the quarterback, I mean, I've been critical of him this month since the beginning of the season, and he's not doing too bad. I don't think he's holding back the offense. He had 4 TDs and 1 interception. And he had like a 92 or 93 QBR rating, which is pretty impressive. I mean, so hats off to Mac Jones. I'm sorry I called you a bum. And I think Alabama is in contention to be, still going to be a favorite for the college playoffs. And the defense is nothing short of exceptional for Alabama. They pretty much carried the whole game. Yeah, I mean, Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett, 2 TDs, 3 interceptions. Yeah, I mean, Jake Fromm wasn't really good, but I think Stetson's not that good either. And another honorable mention I want to make is Jalen Waddle, the receiver for Alabama. He pretty much could be one of the best receivers in the game right now. 161 yards on 6 receptions, and then a TD on top of that. So what I'm seeing out of this is Georgia's probably going to be in contention for the SEC title, but it's not going to come close because Alabama's probably going to win it again, and then Alabama will go to the playoffs and show what's up. So looking at some other games that were going on this weekend, let's see, BYU beat Houston 43-26. I mean, sure. I mean, BYU's looking pretty clean for a bunch of Mormon kids. I mean, they're not in the conference, I don't believe, but I don't know. I mean, they could be in discussion to be in the playoffs, but they obviously won't. I mean, if they get one loss, they're just out just like that. Clemson beat Georgia Tech 73-7. Trevor Lawrence had 5 TDs and 400 yards in the first half alone. That's crazy. I mean, like, Trevor Lawrence is pretty much like this. If I were to describe the hype for Trevor Lawrence, it's like the second coming of John Elway when he went to the NFL. He's just that good, like Andrew Luck. I mean, he's just the perfect stature. He's tall. He's mobile. He's mobile as well. He's real big, strong, amazing arm, great mechanics now. I mean, he's been lazy with his mechanics last season, but he's finally polished them up again. I mean, that was just because he doesn't get challenged very often, and now he's just like, I'm here, and I'm ready to make up what happened last season because that L at the championship game was definitely not me. So I'm going to show what's up, and I'm the number 1 pick, which he probably will be, honestly. Pitt played Miami. Miami beat them 31-19. University of Kentucky upsetted Tennessee 34-7. So that's pretty cool. Then Louisville lost to Notre Dame 7-12, and I mean, Notre Dame's still looking pretty strong, honestly, and they could be a not a contender, but they're most likely going to play Clemson at the ACC title game. If it's not going to be Notre Dame, it's going to be Miami. Those two are the kind of the top running ones, I think. Then LSU, actually, that game got LSU versus Florida. That game got postponed, I think, due to COVID cases. And it's crazy how like much length and extremes that the NCAA will go to make sure people play. Like Nick Saban, he tested positive for COVID, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they tested him every day, and after 3 negative straight tests, then he was cleared to go coach on Saturday. And even if he wasn't going to coach on the game, he was probably going to do virtual or something. I mean, that's a big deal over there for them, especially in the SEC. I just hopefully people, maybe him, because he has a larger voice. I mean, he's kind of the Mac Daddy of college football. Hopefully he'll say something like, hey, man, sure, COVID's not killing too many, it's not a major threat as much anymore. Actually, it still is, honestly, but maybe he's just saying that people are saying that COVID's not a big deal, but me, as Nick Saban, I think we should be taking it more seriously, and I hope he uses his platform to say something like that, because I don't want this thing to keep going on. It's not fun. I want to enjoy football and college football, NFL, all these sports normally again, and even do normal things that I've been doing on my day-to-day activities, because I don't like going to places and restaurants with masks. I mean, I get it. We should be doing that, but no one wants to do it, though. But we got to do our part if we're going to make this better again. And then that's another game that got postponed was Oklahoma State versus Baylor. I mean, I'm excited for Oklahoma State playing Iowa State next weekend, because that could be kind of like these two teams have a chance of representing the Big 12 as the top team in that conference. So I'm excited to see what happens after that. And then lastly, the other game that happened was Boston College versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech won 14-40. I don't really see this much of a big game. Virginia Tech isn't really up there for an ACC top spot. But hey, I mean, good game for them, right? So let's jump into the NFL games I saw this weekend, starting with the Broncos versus the Patriots. The Broncos won 18-12. Drew Lock, the quarterback for the Broncos, threw 2 interceptions and 189 yards. Philip Lindsay, the running back for the Broncos, had 101 yards to 23 carries. Then for the Patriots, Cam Newton had 2 interceptions to 159 yards, but he had a pass. He had a rushing TD. The real MVP of this game was probably Brandon McManus. He was 6 for 6 on all field goal attempts and scored all 18 points for the Broncos, so props to him. I saw nothing virtually great about either of these teams. At least Bill Belichick was able to prevent any sort of TD. I guess I can't really say much because they still lost. But the offense just couldn't produce, man. Their wide receivers just aren't elite anymore. I mean, they haven't been elite for about 2 years, maybe 3. I'd say 2. But, like, come on. Julian Edelman needs to step up, man. He's been sucking, like, all year, like, way worse than usual. He was 2 for 6 on his receptions. I mean, come on, dude. You're Super Bowl MVP. You got to be something out there, at least. And in terms of, like, the division standings, Broncos aren't really in contention for any division. Pats are. They still have a chance to win theirs. They just cannot afford to lose to the Bills now because these losses definitely are adding up. The Ravens played the Eagles. The Ravens won 30-28. Lamar Jackson had 1 pass TD to 186 passing yards, and then he had 108 rushing yards on 12, which is 12 yards per carry, and then 1 rushing TD. Carson Wentz had a decent day. He had 2 TDs, 213 yards, and then 1 rush TD. And as honorable mention to his receiver, Travis Fulgham, he had 6 receptions and 1 TD, so props to him. I kind of saw a glimpse of the return of Carson Wentz. He's still struggling a little bit, but that fourth quarter comeback was pretty impressive. I mean, 22 points in 1 quarter is not an easy thing to do. I mean, I'm a little disappointed in the Ravens defense. I mean, you can't allow that to happen in fourth quarter, especially in big games. I mean, this wasn't a big game to them, but you can't let them get away with that many points. It's just a little ridiculous. Lamar Jackson is still utilizing his athleticism by using his legs, as he should. I mean, that's his specialty. And people shouldn't be pushing him like, hey, he needs to be more of a passing quarterback. That won't work all the time. It's like, you're Lamar Jackson, won the MVP because you use your legs. I mean, just use them. However, you still should focus on improving your pass game because you are a quarterback at the end of the day. And I see a slight improvement, but I want to see a little bit more. Hopefully, he'll use his arm a little bit more when there's situations where the rush defense is going to neutralize his legs. But I think he'll find something, man. The Ravens are a great team. I'm sure they'll find something that will utilize him the best as an overall quarterback. But you just got to be careful, man. Defenses are learning, and then they learn quick. And looking at the division, I mean, Ravens are they're in a good standing. The Eagles, I mean, depending on how Andy Dalton does with the Cowboys these next couple of games, Eagles still have like a slight chance of taking division. I mean, it's a very shitty division, man. I mean, I'm not saying they have a good chance, but just a slight one. So we'll see what happens. Then we go to the Packers versus Buccaneers game. Yeah, Packers lost 10-38, and Buccaneers scored 38 points on them unanswered. That's right. Packers were winning 10-0 beginning of the second quarter, and then everything just went to shit from there. So here's like the overall stats for that game. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers threw 2 interceptions and 160 yards. Tom Brady had 2 TDs to 166 yards. And then, like, usually Aaron Jones, the running back, kind of always shows up, but he just got his ass annihilated. He only had 1 rush TD, but only 15 total yards. I mean, an impressive performance from running back Ronald Jones Jr., who had 113 yards to 2 TDs. Even Gronkowski made an appearance, man. Gronk had 5 receptions, including a TD. It was just bad, man. Like, it didn't help that David Bakhtiari, Aaron Rodgers' left tackle, got injured in the middle of the game, but hopefully he'll return soon. And he was just all over the place when he had no protection. And let's just talk about the interceptions. So the first interception was in the second quarter, and it was a pick six pass. He was throwing it left to Devontae Adams on the sideline. It was an in-and-out route. However, I think there was a delay in the pass, which led to just no coordination, and then they took an opportunity, just picked it right off of and ran it into for a touchdown. It was bad. And it just got worse from there because the next drive, I kid you not, he threw another interception. I was like, Aaron Rodgers is known to have Aaron Rodgers is known to minimize all turnovers. Like he has the ball, he's the quarterback that's least likely to throw an interception. Yet two in the same game, and he just could not gain his confidence back after those two interceptions. And I feel like he was starting to trust his receivers less and less throughout the game. And usually, I don't know. Usually he always has this thing where he throws better in the last half. He just couldn't do that. And I'm not saying he's washed up because Aaron Rodgers is not washed up. I mean, I've seen him playing all season. I'm just gonna say this is a bad game for him, man, because that it was just unacceptable. I mean, I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I think he's the greatest quarterback of all time, but that was just a bad game for him, and he has to step up next game. I'm not gonna put on the receivers because that was all him. I'm sorry. I mean, and another person that kind of disappeared was Jadarius Smith. He just didn't show up when the sacks were needed against Tom Brady. And Tom Brady pretty much stayed conservative and avoided turnovers. He didn't have to go balls to the wall because they're aware that the Packers' rush defense isn't very good, and that's when Ronald Jones Jr. stepped up and ran a number on him. Packers, I still think they're going to win the division. I mean, the Bears are great, but people have been saying they're kind of the worst 5-1 team, and I think the Packers will edge them out. But it'll be a great game when they actually play each other, though. Buccaneers are probably still in the running to win their division. I mean, Saints have been kind of disappointing, so they'll probably go to the playoffs. And what I like to see is a rematch. I want to see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady head-to-head in the playoff game, winner take all. Hopefully it'll be a game that will decide the NFC Conference finalists or the Super Bowl. Either way, I'm all about it, and Aaron Rodgers, I know, will not do that kind of shit again. So just kind of briefly go over the other games. I want to go too far into them. So Houston faced the Tennessee Titans, and Titans beat them. They're undefeated, man. You got to watch out. Ryan Tannehill is actually pretty clutch quarterback, and Derrick Henry, unbelievable, man. He's just out of this fucking world. Then the Cincinnati Bengals faced the Indianapolis Colts, and unfortunately the Colts beat them 27-31. Joe Burrow's just struggling with that team, man. It's just hard to work with the Colts, with the Bengals, man. I honestly think there should be a lottery draft for the NFL draft. It's so stupid. You work your ass off in college, you become the best of the best, only to be put on a team where you may not even succeed in it, and like right away. You might have to be patient if you're lucky. Well, I'll go into detail about something like that later in another episode. And then the Atlanta Falcons beat the Minnesota Vikings. They beat them 40-23. I mean, dang, I was impressed. I mean, Minnesota might have to do a coaching change because Mike Zimmer just may not be that guy for them anymore. And then Cleveland lost to Pittsburgh. No surprise there, but Pittsburgh's looking pretty dominant, honestly. I can't wait to see what's in store for them later this season. So that's about all I have for sports today. I mean, it's unfortunately it's been a shorter episode, but that's okay, man. I just want to kind of roll through it. I mean, I've been pretty busy, honestly. I just don't have time to work a full, hard, committed episode. I mean, I'm moving at the end of the month. I just signed my lease. I'm moving officially October 31st on Halloween. And I've been busy with my new job. Sometimes I stay late or I go in early, and I just feel so tired afterwards. But I love it, man. Everyone's really great. Everyone's cool. And I feel like I'm making a difference, and I feel like I'm real confident in what I do there. So I'm happy I'm there. And speaking of Halloween, I'm moving on the day of Halloween, so I need to start thinking of some costume ideas. I mean, I had some people say I should be like Steve Urkel. I mean, I can do all right. I mean, I can kind of do the voice. Like, let's see if I can do it. Did I do that? Yeah, I think I got it down, honestly. And I kind of reiterate back to my Jordan versus LeBron topic. Like, I understand that, like, looking back at it, I only focus on the offensive side of the ball. And I will agree, Jordan is better defensively, but LeBron, he's just more physically gifted. He's so fast and so big. Like, he's so athletically gifted that there has been speculations he could have made it in the NFL and be like a tight end or something. I mean, but LeBron does step up defensively in big clutch moments in the finals especially. I mean, his signature thing is that out of nowhere blocks that he's done on so many people. So you can't sell him short on the defensive side of the ball. And, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers and Packers fan, and like, why? How the hell are you an Aaron Rodgers fan and Packers fan if you were in a fucking Chicago Bears shirt, you fucking loser? Like, hey, I will root for the Bears, but I always pick the Packers first, and I always put my man Aaron Rodgers first before the Bears. But when they're not playing them, I'll root for for the Bears, man. I love Chicago. I mean, I'm here because of the city of Chicago. I mean, I graduated college and didn't have a place to look for a job because what I do for work as digital advertising, there's no fucking demand for those in Iowa. If I did, I'd probably go to Des Moines and maybe get a good job out of there. But like Chicago, I mean, I visited so many times in college and high school, and I just love it. It's a big city with the Midwest feel, which you don't see every day. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that city. I mean, I worked in the suburbs and I worked in the city, and my career has been defined by what I've done over these companies I worked for. I mean, I'm grateful. I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't have these job opportunities. I mean, I'd be probably selling insurance or something I just hate doing. But I'm doing something I love, and I want to keep doing it. And yeah, so I got to give props to my city. I mean, I'll rep my city, but at the same time, I'm going to rep Aaron Rodgers and the Packers too. But at least the Bulls got a new head coach, so I'm back to maybe I might be a happy Bulls fan again. It's been too long, but hopefully that will happen. That's all I got for today. Let me know your thoughts of the games you saw this weekend, and if you have any Halloween costume ideas, let me know. I'll see if I'll think about doing them. I mean, Halloween's coming up, so you gotta let me know quick. So thank you guys for watching. It's been a great episode, and there might be a little bit of delay for the next episode because I'll be moving in between that time frame, but I'll try to give you something at least. So thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and share with some friends that might be interested. See you guys.